Rasul of Allah didn't hesitate from taking the message of Allah to those who were close and those who were far. We must submit ourselves in prayer, replenish our hearts with all the faith from the cherisher and sustainer of the earth, the one for whom there is no birth. Peace, justice, and harmony.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Waleed Basyouni, the Vice President of Al-Maghrib Institute and a member of the Fatwa Committee and a Simply Jurist in North America. I'm here with my friends to discuss a very interesting topic, a topic that I believe it is not only a concern for Muslims in the West, but all over the world. Not only Muslims, but non-Muslim as well. It is something that the whole world talk about, and the whole world trying to figure out a way to deal with it. It's the issue of terrorism. This workshop, if I may call it, in the following episodes, we will be talking about a very interesting topic. I believe it is heroic or heretic. There's a big difference between the two words. Are these terrorist groups and individuals heroes? Are they really bringing any positive change to the world? Did they ever make anything better? Or they're heretics, people who have changed their religion, have used the religion to gain maybe personal gain, or they misunderstood the religion and they have made the religion look so ugly and terrifying, and even created a phobia about Islam in the eyes of so many Muslims and non-Muslims alike. I would like to approach this through a very academic way during these episodes. And I hope, inshallah, with my friends here in the studio, we'll be able to cover many points that I find it very interesting. Welcome, Amr and Ahmed.
Yes.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. My name is Ahmed. I'm 27 years old, and I'm from Egypt. I work as an English teacher, and I study American literature.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm Omar. I'm an Egyptian citizen. I'm 31 years old. I work in one of the channels. I write scripts and translate. And I have the honor to be here with you, Sheikh.
Thank you very much. Inshallah ta'ala, these episodes and this topic, it's a topic that I've been teaching about for a very long time. I'll be very honest, this issue is a concern for me since the 80s. So it is something like I have seen growing up, many of the jihadis groups, how they changed through the course of these last decades or so, and going more extreme and more extreme in nature. But this workshop, or this episodes in particular, we'll be talking about the modern type of extreme jihadi groups that exist today. Unfortunately, I call them jihadist group, even though the word jihad is a very beautiful word in our religion. But the misuse of these groups, unfortunately, they use that term today. I'm going to use it just because it is a popular term today. Otherwise, they have nothing to do with the jihad. And I would like to speak about the extreme Muslim jihadi groups, or extreme Muslims groups who terrorists happen to be Muslims. As we know, Islam is a big difference between Islam and Muslims. Yeah. There is no terrorist Islam or extreme Islam. You know, Islam, it's a moderate religion, it's a perfect religion, alhamdulillah. But we have bad Muslims, we have extreme Muslims, we have radical Muslims, we have a terrorist happen to be a Muslim. But Islam in itself is not fascist, is not radical in its nature, it is not an extreme in its nature, it's a moderate religion. But people can go extreme. So here when we talk about the jihadis, I'm not talking about the jihad, I'm talking about the people who claim that they are jihadis. And specifically, I want to focus on those groups who happen to be Muslims. First, I'm not experts in other extreme groups. I'm not expert on the terrorist groups that exist in Israel or in Ireland or in Japan or anywhere in the world, Sri Lanka. That's not my area, that's not my specialty. Number two, the people I'm talking to are the Muslims. This is the people that I'm listening to. That's why I have Ahmed and Omar in the studio to discuss this together. You know, I'm not addressing the whole world. So nobody come and say, hey, why don't you talk about the terrorist group that exists in a country? You know, that's not my target audience. This is not the people they listen to me, they take from me. I'm talking to the Muslims, to the youth, to the young generations, to the people who are confused about these terrorist groups. I'm talking to the Muslim community in the West specifically, because that's where I live. I also believe there is a big difference between a terrorist group that motivated by political reasons and a terrorist group that motivated by religious reasons.
Yes.
There's a big difference between the two. Yeah. I think the political ones are both ugly. Using violence and hurting innocent people to convey your message, it's a wrong way of conveying your message. But those who are motivated because of political reasons, in many cases you can settle with them, you can reason with them. Yeah. You know, when this political conflict ends, this activity will come to an end. But the problem when someone motivated by religious ideologies, when this is going to end? You know, it's going to continue as long as this religion exists. And that's the dangers of it, in my opinion. That's why here this has become a bigger challenge for us as a Muslim scholars and student of knowledge and du'at to make sure to explain what is really the meaning of jihad, what is really the meaning of khilafah, what is the meaning, these issues that are risen by these groups, and to clarify it for the masses, to make it so loud and so clear that we are motivated by our deen to protect our religion. I'm not here to please anyone or any group. I'm here to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to protect this beautiful religion and to keep it as pure as it is, as it was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The same thing when we talk about all these innovations that happen to religion, all these sects and deviant groups that came through the history and tried to change the beauty of Islam by adding their own interpretations. We want to bring that to the original message, the way it was in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the early generations. As you can imagine, this is a very big subject. There's so many groups exist today, claim that they are a jihadist group. There is so many reasons behind violence. You know, there is this culture of death exists in modern days. I don't know if you noticed that or not. It's always about dying. It's all about dying, and it's about the culture of death is something became very common in modern days. Can you imagine if you are a Syrian today or an Iraqi? No. All what you hear about is death, killing, or in Palestine. If you turn on the news, everything in the news is about killing and dying. The culture of violence, look at the games, look at the movies, look at the message that come across the youth today. We have a big problem, as you see, bigger than just an ideologies or a misunderstanding of religion. We have a culture of violence in modern days, a culture of death versus culture of peace, culture of harmony, culture of the culture of honoring and loving to live life. You know, so many Muslims, they think sometimes being a religious, it means you only think about death and you're going to die. And, you know, I believe this culture and somehow contribute to create kind of strange personality, receptive to the idea of violence and dying, and think that if you die for the sake of Allah, that's the best thing you can. One of my teachers, Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah, used to say something very beautiful. He said, "Al-hayat fi sabilillah as'ab min al-maut fi sabilillah." He said, it's easy to die for the sake of Allah. What's really hard is to live for the sake of Allah. Is to live your life while you're holding into these principles. So you see, there are so many different reasons behind the violence and the extremism and turning to be a terrorism. And the shubuhat, the doubts that they have. There's too many of them. To how they justify their actions, because they come as a religious figures and they have spokesmen claim they are students of knowledge and so forth. Also, the doubts, the shubuhat that these groups have, there's too many of them to cover. The way governments and communities deal with these groups varies from one country to another, from one society to another. So my point is, there's too much to cover. And during this workshop, I would try to narrow our talk into discussing specifically two groups that I found them very effective in modern days: Al-Qaeda and their branches in in Arabia or the Arab Peninsula and North Africa, and also, as you know, Egyptian Jihad group joined Al-Qaeda as well, Shabab in Somalia. So this is a whole entire group, very important to cover some, or to talk about some of their ideologies, and as well ISIS or ISIL, the so-called Daesh or Ad-Dawla al-Islamiyya or Khilaf Islamiyya, whatever they call themselves. This became a big phenomenon in the West. I don't know if I can call it a phenomenon yet, but it really interested a lot of people to think about even joining them. We have a large number of Muslim Westerns have traveled and migrated to join ISIS. And I would like to counter their message by showing what is really Islam says about some of the issues that they speak about. Especially, they have very strong presence in social media through their magazines, the videos that they send to attract and to convince more youth to go there. Allah knows how long this group will remain, but obviously the idea, the message that they have created in the last couple of years, it is something will remain for a while, I believe. So I hope, inshallah ta'ala, we will cover these two groups and we will focus on a specific point. I guess we'll take a break, then we'll come back to continue our discussion, inshallah ta'ala.
The Rasul of Allah didn't hesitate from taking the message of Allah.
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا.
We all know that a person's iman increases and decreases, and the best way to increase your iman is through the Quran.
To contemplate, to reflect, to ponder over the verses of the Quran.
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا.
In this program, we will listen to the Quran first, and that should soften our hearts. And then once we get to know the meanings and contemplate over these meanings, then we can change by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
ولا يأتونك بمثل إلا جئناك بالحق وأحسن تفسيرا. ولا يأتونك بمثل إلا جئناك بالحق وأحسن تفسيرا.
Join us on Quran Circle 2 and increase your iman.
The Rasul of Allah didn't hesitate from taking the message of Allah.
Welcome back to this program about heroic or heretics. As we said earlier, this workshop, if you want to call it, it will cover a lot of issues related to the modern extreme jihadi groups and their claims, to explain what is the correct position in Islam towards the concept of jihad, khilafah, relationship between Muslim and non-Muslims, and so forth. And you have here with me Said Ahmed and Omar.
Yes.
So we were talking about an introduction
Right.
before the break.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ahmed.
Well, there's an idea I just want to share. When we think about, the way you make Islam the universal religion is very simple. Just for anyone who kills the non-Muslims, let me just ask him a question. Why do you kill? Do you kill for because this is your philosophy of defending a religion, or to show its greatness? That's Islam is the best religion. No, it's not like that. Islam is the best religion through its universality. So it's pretty simple. When you kill someone, okay, so this is your chance to raise the number of the Muslim people by calling him for Islam. So when we speak about jihad, we have different kinds of jihad. Yeah, you can go and fight. Okay, this is one way, and you can fight first with the word. And when we look at the definition of the word jihad in the in the Islamic terminology, it means the Muslims striving to make the word of Allah supreme and to spread the religion of Allah on earth. So
we'll talk about that, because even this kind of translation, I might have a comment on it, and reservation on the way sometimes we word and we explain the word jihad. We'll have a complete episode about the word of jihad. But I definitely agree with the concept that the jihad is a mean to spread or the jihad it's a mean meant to defend, meant to protect, meant to protect lives, not to take lives.
Yes.
That's absolutely
exactly.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a comment regarding when you, Sheikh, were talking about that we are not, as Muslims, we don't wish people to die, and some of these groups, these violent groups, they want people to die. There is part of the hadith that the Prophet said, لا تتمنوا لقاء العدو. So even if there is an enemy, he is really an enemy. They are not civilians. They are not people, innocent people or children and women. We don't. It's not recommended for us to go and wish we have to go and fight.
Hasten towards
fight.
Fight is the last
yes
option.
Of course, and I think that it was an incident at the Battle of Badr, before the Battle of Badr. One of the disbelievers, he was saying to the disbelievers that don't go and fight, don't wage war, don't react to the Muslims by fighting them in Badr. And Prophet Muhammad said that in يطيعوا صاحب الجمل الأحمر, in the meaning of the hadith, that if they listen to one of the chieftains of the disbelievers, they are going to actually have prosperity, or they are not going to get into this killing or this violence or anything. So that means that the Prophet himself, even in Battle of Badr, he wished that if the disbelievers didn't just have a contact between the Muslims, that would be better actually for them and for the Muslims.
That's true. It's a big difference between this message that we know from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ and the way Muslims were, and the message that we see today. When you hear some of the leaders of, like for example, al-Zarqawi in Iraq, when he was saying that send your troops with thirsty for their blood, it gives you a very big different image. That those people just looking for killing and more people to die.
Wow.
As if the goal is to die. As if the goal is just to die and to be killed or kill someone. And that's a big difference between how jihad is a concept, is basically the last option that you have as a leader to choose, not the first thing. It's not about killing more people. As a matter of fact, we've been ordered also to spare the life of people as much as we can.
Yeah.
That's why if they ever choose peace, we go with peace over war.
Sure.
So, inshallah ta'ala, I just want to mention a couple of points before we go to how this will work. I want to say that I want to emphasize, make an emphasis on this issue, that I'm not talking here about al-jihad as a very well-established concept in Islam. Anybody deny jihad as a concept in Islam is not Muslim, because you deny something well-known in Sharia. تنكر شيء معلوم من الدين بالضرورة. There is ijma' among the Muslim scholars that the jihad is part of our religion. But what I'm here challenging is the jihadis group today. Big difference between the two. So nobody ever say, hey, this guy is anti-jihad. I'm not anti-jihad. if I'm anti-anything, and I'm anti-extremist jihadi groups that exist today, that they have made a jihad, instead of making it something, instead of it is something so beautiful and pure, to make it so ugly and terrifying. Also, I'm not here to talk about a war or a jihad or a resistance, as we call them, freedom fighters, as a result of occupation of one country to another country. So if one country occupy another country, that's a political decision made by that country. They take the consequences of their actions. There will be a resistance, and there will be this resistance. That's not what I'm talking about. The jihadi groups are not only exist in area where there's occupation. Even when the occupation finished, they still exist and they still work in these societies. They go to Muslim society, to countries that not necessarily in the area where it is occupied. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the jihadi movement in general. Even this issue of the resistance and the fighting, this issue of ijtihad, is it the best option to make a resistance and to fight, or to find a political way to deal with the occupation? Or this issue of ijtihad, this issue of opinions, is not something black and white. I might have a position, you have a different position. In the end of the day, it's not make me a Muslim, non-Muslim. It doesn't make me kafir, out of Islam. It doesn't make me even mubtadi', dhal, misguided, evil. But what can make the person is when the person start changing the message, changing the original meaning of jihad, the original meaning of al-wala' wal-bara', to understand it in completely different sense, and introduce very alien understanding of this concept to the youth and to the Muslims world, and lead to basically a result that we're all suffering from. Also, very important point to say, the people who react to the issue of ISIS and these groups react in different ways. I'm not here to speak to someone who is already a member of ISIS or member of Al-Qaeda, because those people they are already very far away, in my opinion, to deal with them. Those people should be dealt with them through the security agencies. These are meant to deal with them mainly. We can counter their ideology, but when someone turns to be a militant, carry a weapon, start killing people, break the law, that's somebody who should be dealt with according to the law of the country. And I'm a big believer on that in this area. But what I'm talking to, and hopefully I'm reaching out today, to two kind of people. Number one, someone who's thinking about it. Something like, maybe this is the right Islam. Maybe this is the solution to the problem that we have. Maybe this is the solution to bring justice. Maybe this is the solution to end the injustice and the basic sectarian wars that we see against Sunnis or against Muslims, or any name that you might have. I'm talking about someone thinking maybe this is the jihad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, and this is the highest reward that I can gain. So this is the person I want to reach out to through these episodes. And also, I would like to reach another group of people, which is a group of people, they don't believe in the maybe ideologies of these guys, and maybe not thinking about joining them, but they are okay with them. Sympathizers. I think they have a point. I'm not part of them, I'm not one of them, but may Allah help them. And that's very dangerous. It's very interesting. Ibn Rashid al-Qayrawani, rahimahullah, mentioned a group of people called Al-Qa'diyya, the sitting. He said it is one of the group of Khawarij who used to believe in the Khawarij concept, but they never carry weapon. And Ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned that. He said, هُمُ الَّذِينَ يُحَسِّنُونَ. They are the group who say that this Khawarij and what they're doing, the Kharij and what they're doing is okay, even though we're not part of them, even though we're not going to participate in the fight or the killing. But those known group among the Khawarij, and the ulama spoke about such people. And unfortunately, we do sometimes have people like that. Not let us deceived by what they claim. Let us judge people not by what they say they are, but what their actions, because action speaks louder than words. So because of that, Don't be deceived by these groups. They say beautiful words, because we're going to see in the ahadith al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that when they speak, يَقُولُونَ مِنْ كَلَامِ خَيْرِ الْبَرِيَّةِ, they mention the best of speech. They quote the Quran, they quote the hadith, and easily you can be misled by them. So hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, during this workshop, we'll be talking about the Khawarij, the concept of terrorism. We'll be talking about the ideology, the principles that these modern extreme jihadi groups build their movement upon, from aqidah perspective, from theology, or their ideologies, the way they think, the way they analyze things, the way they view the world today. So many of their doubts, shubuhat that they have, evidence that they use to justify targeting innocent people, justify what happened in England, what happened in America, the mass shooting, the suicide bombing that take place in many different places in the world today, targeting the Shia, even reached to targeting Masjid Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina. Unbelievable. That's why when I say this extreme ideas and ideologies, there is no end to it. It can reach to level beyond our imagination. And why people are deceived by them? Why didn't we win the battle against extremism? I think that's a good question to answer. And some of my recommendation in regard to this issue, I hope, inshallah ta'ala, in the following episodes that we'll have a very interesting discussions. And time's up, but next time, inshallah, we'll have more of back and forth, inshallah, between us. Hopefully, looking forward to see you in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Waleed Basyouni and Brother Omar and Ahmed.
Rasul of Allah didn't hesitate from taking the message of Allah to those who were close and those who were far. We must submit ourselves in prayer, replenish our hearts with all the fear from the cherisher and sustainer of the earth, the one for whom there is no birth. Peace, justice, and harmony is what we need today. Peace, justice, and harmony is the only way. The only way. Peace, justice, and harmony. That's what we need today. That's what we need today. Peace, justice, and harmony is the only way.